The massive alien ship emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter's orbit, its metallic surface gleaming under the distant sunlight. Inside the vessel's command center, High Commander Gray of the Meridian Alliance stood watching the blue planet through the ship's viewing screen. His four eyes narrowed as he studied the readings about Earth's military capabilities. Primitive, yet advancing too quickly, he muttered to his second-in-command, Officer White. Their technological progress in the last 100 years is unprecedented. White nodded, his ceremonial armor clicking as he moved. They went from basic flight to landing on their moon in less than 70 years. Now they have colonies on Mars and mining operations in their asteroid belt. The Meridian Alliance, a coalition of 15 advanced alien species, had been watching Earth for decades. They had seen humans survive countless wars, natural disasters, and near-extinction events. Each time, humans emerged stronger, more resilient, and more technologically advanced. The Council of Elders wants peaceful contact, White said, reviewing the latest orders on his datapad. They believe humans could become valuable allies. Gray snorted, a sound that showed his clear disapproval. The Council sits in their comfortable chambers, far from the frontier. They don't understand the threat humans pose. He turned to face his officer. Did you review the historical records we gathered? These humans, they turn everything into a weapon. Even their sports are based on ancient combat techniques. As they talked, Earth's first response to their presence arrived. A small fleet of human ships approached, maintaining what their civilization considered a safe distance. The human vessels were bulky, primitive by Alliance standards, but Gray noticed how they positioned themselves. A perfect defensive formation. They're cautious, White observed, not aggressive, but ready. Send the greeting message, Gray ordered, following protocol despite his reservations. The Alliance's carefully crafted message was transmitted in all major Earth languages, requesting a diplomatic meeting on their moon base. The humans accepted. 3 days later, in the Lunar Conference facility, representatives from Earth's major nations gathered to meet the Alliance delegation. The humans had chosen their best diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. What the humans didn't know was that Commander Gray had already set his plan in motion. Deep in the Alliance ship, a group of loyal officers prepared to teach humanity its first lesson in interstellar politics. The human delegation's leader, Ambassador Thompson, stood to deliver his speech. On behalf of Earth, we welcome peaceful contact with the Meridian Alliance. We hope this meeting marks the beginning of a lasting friendship between our peoples. Gray watched with hidden contempt as the humans presented their achievements, their hopes for cooperation, and their willingness to learn. All the while, his secret orders were being carried out. The explosion rocked the lunar base exactly 2 hours into the meeting. Emergency alarms blared as the facility's atmosphere began venting into space. The humans reacted with remarkable speed, their emergency protocols kicking in instantly. They sealed off the damaged sections and evacuated both human and alien diplomats to safe areas. This is an outrage, Ambassador Thompson shouted, his face red with anger. We came in peace. Gray feigned shock and concern, but inside he felt satisfaction. This appears to be the work of human terrorists, he declared. Clearly, your species is not ready for peaceful contact. Before the humans could protest or investigate, the Alliance delegation departed, leaving chaos in their wake. Within hours, Alliance warships appeared near Mars. Their target, humanity's first off-world colony. The message was clear: submit to Alliance oversight or face destruction. What Commander Gray and the Alliance military didn't realize was that they had just made the biggest mistake in their coalition's history. They thought they were teaching humans a lesson. Instead, they were about to learn one themselves. As nuclear alarms sounded across Mars Colony 1, Earth's military leaders gathered in an underground bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was silent except for one general's words. So they want to see how humans wage war. Let's show them. The first shot had been fired. But the Alliance would soon learn that starting a war with humans was easy. Surviving what came next would be the hard part. The underground command center buzzed with activity as military leaders from around the world gathered. Screens showed the devastating aftermath of the Mars colony attack. Thousands dead, the dome structures cracked, and vital resources destroyed. The Alliance's message had been clear: submit or die. General Adams stood at the center of the room, his weathered face illuminated by the electronic displays. Ladies and gentlemen, we're facing an enemy with technology centuries ahead of ours. Their ships can cross solar systems in days. Their weapons cut through our best defenses like paper. Then we surrender? Asked one of the politicians, his voice trembling. No, Adams replied, pulling up images on the main screen. We changed the rules of the game. The images showed old military installations, Cold War bunkers, and mothballed weapon systems. The Alliance thinks they know our capabilities because they can detect our active technology. But humanity has been preparing for doomsday scenarios for over a century. In the weeks that followed, Earth's response took shape. While the Alliance expected submission, humans began what they called Operation Stone Age. Military bases worldwide powered down their modern systems. Ancient radio equipment, mechanical computers, and diesel engines were pulled out of storage. Deep in the Atlantic Ocean, submarine commander Lisa Turner received new orders. Her nuclear submarine, equipped with both modern and ancient technology, would become part of humanity's first response. Listen up, crew, she announced over the ship's internal comm system. We're going dark. No modern tech, no digital signals. We're running this boat like our grandfathers did. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. Retired military officers were called back to teach young soldiers how to fight without relying on satellites or advanced communications. Aircraft carriers were retrofitted with old-style radar systems that the Alliance's advanced scanners overlooked as too primitive to be threatening. In orbit, the Alliance ships watched Earth's military bases seemingly shut down one by one. Their scans showed decreasing energy signatures and technological activity. Commander Gray reported to his superiors with satisfaction. The humans are surrendering, he declared. They realize resistance is futile. He couldn't have been more wrong. In a hidden facility beneath the Ural Mountains, Project Ragnarok took shape. Engineers worked to modify old nuclear weapons, stripping away their modern safety systems and guidance computers. These dumb bombs were now invisible to Alliance detection systems. They're looking for antimatter weapons and energy beams, explained Dr. Miller to the gathered military leaders. They're not looking for simple rockets and nuclear fission. To them, it's too primitive to be a threat. The first test of humanity's new strategy came 3 weeks after the Mars attack. An Alliance supply ship, carrying materials to build their new base on Mars, dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's moon. Their scanners showed nothing dangerous, just space debris and old satellites. They never saw the ships coming. 3 submarines, surfaced in space using modified Cold War engines, launched their missiles, simple projectiles, moving too slowly to trigger the Alliance's automated defenses, struck the supply ship's hull. The nuclear warheads, lacking any modern detonation systems that could be detected or jammed, exploded on impact. The Alliance ship, with all its advanced shields calibrated to stop energy weapons and antimatter torpedoes, was ripped apart by the primitive atomic explosions. In the command center, General Adams watched the confirmation come in through Morse code signals. A smile crossed his face as he turned to his staff. Send the message to all commands, he ordered. Operation Stone Age is a success. Implement Phase 2. On his screen, a simple text appeared. From Earth Command to all units. The hunt begins. In high orbit, Commander Gray received the report of his lost supply ship. For the first time, a flicker of worry crossed his alien features. Something was wrong. The humans were supposed to be beaten, cowering in fear. Instead, his scanner showed nothing. Earth's military bases remained dark, silent. The silence, he would soon learn was the sound of humanity preparing for war. The Alliance supply base on Europa shattered like glass. No alarms had sounded. No sensors had detected any threat. One moment the base stood proud against the icy moon's surface. The next, it was consumed in a massive explosion. Commander Gray watched the replay for the 10th time, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. How are they doing this? He demanded. Where is their fleet? The answer lay in the darkness of space, where Captain Tom Baker commanded what humans now called the Ghost Fleet. His ship, an old oil tanker converted for space travel, drifted silently among the asteroids. The vessel had no electronics, no modern engines, just mechanical systems, chemical rockets, and a hull packed with explosives. Status report, Baker whispered into a rubber tube. The sound traveled through the ship's mechanical speaking system, designed like those from ancient submarines. All mechanical systems green, came the response. No heat signature, no electronic emissions. We're invisible to their scans. The Ghost Fleet represented humanity's answer to the Alliance's superior technology. 50 ships, all running on technology centuries old, scatter throughout the solar system. They were primitive, slow, and incredibly deadly. In the ship's forward section, Baker watched through a glass periscope as another Alliance cruiser passed nearby. The alien vessel's sensors swept the area with advanced scanning beams, searching for human ships using energy signatures and technological emissions. They found nothing. Like looking for a smartphone, but ignoring a rock being thrown at your head, Baker muttered, remembering the briefing that had explained their strategy. The Ghost Fleet's tactics were simple but effective. They hid among debris fields and asteroids, waiting for Alliance ships to pass. Using only visual confirmation and mechanical calculations done with slide rules and paper, they plotted intercept courses. Their weapons were equally primitive. Solid fuel rockets carrying nuclear warheads, stripped of all electronic components. On Earth, military command received updates through a network of signal mirrors, and light flashes bounced between old satellites. The Alliance could detect the signals but dismissed them as random reflections. They didn't realize humans were using methods of communication invented over 2 centuries ago. Another supply convoy detected. Came the message through Baker's speaking tube. 3 ships moving toward Mars. Baker smiled grimly. All hands, prepare for intercept. Mechanical engines only. No electrical systems. His ship, along with 2 others hiding nearby, began their slow approach. The modified chemical rockets made no signature the Alliance could detect. To their advanced sensors, the human ships appeared as nothing more than drifting space debris. The Alliance convoy never stood a chance. When the first nuclear explosion ripped through their lead ship, the Alliance commanders barely had time to register surprise before 2 more warheads struck. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons and plasma torpedoes, did nothing against the crude atomic explosions. In his command center orbiting Earth, Commander Gray received another report of lost ships. His staff officers worked frantically to explain the mounting losses. "It's impossible," one of them shouted. "We're detecting no human fleet, no weapons signatures, no energy readings. They must have some advanced cloaking technology we can't detect." Gray slammed his fist on the console. "Check every signal. Find their ships." But the Alliance's sophisticated sensors continued to show the same thing. Nothing but debris, old satellites, and primitive radio waves. They had no way to detect the mechanical systems and chemical rockets the humans were using. Their technology was too advanced to see something so simple. Back on Baker's ship, the crew celebrated their victory in silence. They had already begun drifting toward their next target, moving like ghosts through the solar system. "Send the confirmation," Baker ordered. The message went out through light signals. 3 more down. "The Ghost Fleet hunts. We are everywhere and nowhere." In Earth's underground command center, General Adams read the report and nodded with satisfaction. The Alliance had wanted to teach humans about modern warfare. Instead, they were learning an ancient lesson. Sometimes the oldest weapons are the deadliest, and the simplest tactics are the hardest to counter. The Ghost Fleet continued its silent hunt through the darkness of space, proving that humanity didn't need advanced technology to bring destruction. They just needed determination and the willingness to embrace their violent past. The Alliance High Council chamber fell silent as Commander Gray finished his report. In just 2 months, they had lost 30 ships, 5 bases, and thousands of soldiers to an enemy they couldn't even detect. The council members, representing 15 advanced species, looked at each other in growing concern. Impossible, wheezed Council Leader Green, his scaled skin pale with worry. How can primitives who barely reached their own moon be defeating our finest ships? The answer came in the form of another explosion, this one visible from the council chamber's window. An asteroid, nearly 2 miles wide, had just slammed into their capital city's shield dome. The impact wasn't enough to break through, but the message was clear. Humans could strike anywhere. On the asteroid's surface, hidden in a crude pressure shelter, Engineer Mike Wilson watched through binoculars. Impact confirmed, he said into a hand-cranked radio. Time to show them trick number 2. The asteroid was no natural space rock. It was one of many that humans had hollowed out and turned into weapons. Inside its core, miners used old-fashioned dynamite to crack the rock apart. The explosion wouldn't break the shield, but it would create thousands of smaller rocks, all falling toward the city. The Alliance's automated defense systems ignored the debris, programmed to watch for energy weapons and missiles instead. Rocks were too primitive to be considered a threat. Then the rocks began to explode. Each fragment contained a simple chemical bomb, no more advanced than what humans had used in their First World War. But there were thousands of them, and the Alliance's shields couldn't stop them all. Back on Earth, General Adams watched through reports written on paper and delivered by runners. The Alliance had shut down all digital communications, hoping to stop human coordination. Instead, they had forced humanity to rely on methods too primitive for them to detect. Status report from the mining fleet, a messenger announced. 3 more asteroid weapons ready for deployment. The Alliance still hasn't figured out how we're moving them. Adams smiled. The answer was simple. They were using steam power, just like their ancestors had 2 centuries ago. No electronics, no fusion drives, just heated water creating pressure to move enormous rocks through space. In Alliance territory, the effects of human warfare were starting to show. Their supply lines, disrupted by the Ghost Fleet and asteroid attacks, couldn't keep up with demand. Civilian populations, used to easy lives of luxury, faced shortages for the first time in generations. Commander Gray stood in his command center, watching another defense platform fall to primitive nuclear weapons. His staff had finally realized what humans were doing, but the knowledge came too late. They tricked us, he admitted to Officer White. We looked for advanced weapons, for sophisticated tactics. We never thought they would go backwards. How do we fight an enemy that uses weapons so primitive our defenses don't recognize them as weapons? White asked. The answer came in the form of panic from another Alliance world. Humans had found their food production centers and were systematically destroying them with chemical weapons that hadn't been used in war for over a century. In Earth's war room, General Adams received a message from the Ghost Fleet. They had successfully deployed what they called the Locust Strategy, destroying Alliance food supplies just like ancient armies had burned crops to starve their enemies. They wanted us to fight like them, Adams told his staff. Instead, we're making them fight like us, and we have thousands of years of experience being brutal. The Alliance Council met again, this time in an underground bunker. Their mighty civilization, built on advanced technology and sophisticated warfare, was being dismantled by an enemy using weapons from humanity's violent past. Perhaps, Council Leader Green suggested, his voice shaking, we should consider negotiating. But as another asteroid weapon appeared in their system, they realized it might be too late. They had wanted to teach humans about war. Instead, humanity was teaching them about terror. the lesson wasn't over yet. In the darkness of an Alliance military base, an alarm blared. Not the high-tech warning systems they usually used, but an old-fashioned mechanical bell. The sound echoed through empty hallways, driving fear into the alien soldiers' hearts. They had learned to fear simple sounds. The humans had taught them that. Colonel Black, one of the Alliance's most decorated officers, stared at the bell with all four eyes wide. "Sweep the base. Find the intruders," he ordered, knowing it was useless. They never found the humans. They only found what humans left behind. Today, they found a book. It sat in the middle of the command center, bound in leather, its pages yellow with age. The title read, "The Art of War" by Sun Tzu. Inside, someone had underlined certain passages in red. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The Alliance soldiers had started to break. Every night, they heard sounds they couldn't trace. Every day, they found signs that humans had been inside their most secure facilities. Not to destroy, just to prove they could. On Earth, General Adams reviewed reports from Operation Midnight, the psychological warfare campaign that was destroying Alliance morale without firing a shot. Team 3 reports success, his aide reported. They left copies of human war histories in 3 more Alliance command centers. The aliens are starting to understand just how long we've been perfecting the art of war. Adams nodded. The Alliance was learning that humans had spent thousands of years studying how to break an enemy's will to fight. Technology didn't matter. Fear was fear, no matter how advanced the species. In orbit around an Alliance colony world, Captain Baker's Ghost Fleet struck again. This time, they didn't attack. They just appeared on visual sensors for 3 seconds, primitive ships that shouldn't exist, then vanished. The Alliance fleet scrambled to respond, burning fuel and resources for nothing. Psychological warfare, page 1, Baker told his crew. Make them jump at shadows. The Alliance's mighty warships now traveled in large groups, afraid to move alone. Supply ships refused to leave port without heavy escort. Every piece of space debris might be a human weapon. Every shadow might hide a ghost ship. Commander Gray received reports from across Alliance space. Civilian populations were panicking. Military morale was collapsing. The proud Alliance army, with all its advanced weapons, was afraid of primitives using centuries-old tactics. "They're in our heads," he admitted to the council. "Every soldier sees humans in every shadow. Every leader fears human infiltration. We can't fight an enemy that attacks our minds instead of our bodies." The humans had even found the Alliance's historical records. They learned which images, sounds, and symbols triggered fear responses in each alien species. Now they used that knowledge mercilessly. One Alliance base fell into chaos when humans played recordings of ancient predators from the aliens' homeworlds. Another surrendered after finding images of their species' historical disasters scattered throughout their facility. Report from the front lines, an aide told General Adams. 3 more Alliance worlds have requested individual peace treaties. Their populations are refusing to support the war effort. Adams looked at the map showing Alliance territory. Their mighty empire was falling apart, torn by fear and paranoia. Humans hadn't needed to destroy their worlds. They just needed to remind the Alliance why their ancestors had evolved to fear the dark. In his command center, Commander Gray watched his mighty fleet refuse another patrol mission. The crews were too afraid of human ambush tactics. They had lost faith in their superior technology, their advanced training, their unbeatable weapons. "They're not just killing us," he realized. "They're teaching us about terror." The Alliance had wanted to show humans real warfare. Instead, humans showed them something far worse: the psychological scars that thousands of years of warfare leave behind. And the lesson wasn't finished yet. The Alliance Council met in their deepest bunker, hidden beneath the surface of their homeworld. Emergency lights cast shadows on faces that showed raw fear. In 6 months of war, humans had destroyed 1/3 of their fleet, disrupted their entire economy, and broken their people's will to fight. We must sue for peace, Council Leader Green declared, his voice trembling, before the humans take everything. Commander Gray slammed his fist on the table. No, we cannot surrender to primitives. I have one final solution. He activated a hologram showing a biological weapon facility. We still have superior technology. Let's use it. On Earth, General Adams received the intelligence report. The Alliance was preparing to release engineered viruses across human-controlled space. Their desperation had made them dangerous. They still think technology will save them, Adams said to his staff. Show them our response. In orbit around every Alliance world, hidden human ships activated simple radio transmitters. The message they broadcast was basic, just words in the Alliance language. For every virus you release, we will detonate a fusion bomb in one of your suns. Your choice. The Alliance scientists checked their data. The human threat was primitive but possible. They had already seen humans use old nuclear weapons in ways they never imagined. A fusion bomb in a star would cause massive solar flares, potentially destroying entire planets. They're bluffing, Commander Gray insisted. They can't reach all our stars. The humans proved him wrong. In a demonstration, they detonated a small fusion device near an uninhabited star system. The resulting solar flare destroyed 3 Alliance monitoring stations. Captain Baker, watching from his ghost ship, sent the confirmation back to Earth using Morse code. Message delivered. The light show was visible across 2 sectors. The Alliance's civilian population had finally had enough. Riots broke out on 12 worlds. People stormed government buildings, demanding an end to the war. They had seen enough of human warfare to know their leaders were leading them to destruction. Don't you understand? A civilian leader shouted at the council. The humans aren't fighting with technology. They're fighting with conviction. They'll destroy everything we have just to prove they can. Commander Gray made one last desperate attempt. He ordered his remaining fleet to attack Earth directly. 300 ships, the finest the Alliance had left, jumped into Earth's solar system. They found nothing. Every human settlement, every base, every station had gone dark. Radar showed no ships, no defenses, nothing but empty space. Then the asteroids came. Not just weapons this time. The humans had moved thousands of rocks into precise orbits. As the Alliance fleet arrived, the rocks closed in like a net. Each one carried simple nuclear weapons. There was no way to stop them all. Full retreat, Gray ordered, but it was too late. His fleet was trapped in a web of moving rocks, each one a potential bomb. The humans had turned the entire solar system into a weapon. In the Earth bunker, General Adams watched through an old telescope. The Alliance fleet hung motionless, afraid to move in any direction. His aide handed him a message from the Ghost Fleet. The trap is set. Should we end them? Adams picked up a radio microphone. Using the simplest possible transmission, he broadcast to the Alliance fleet. This is Earth Command. You have 30 minutes to surrender. After that, we demonstrate what total war really means. In his flagship, Commander Gray finally understood. The Alliance had superior technology, advanced weapons, and unbeatable shields. But humans had something far more dangerous, the absolute willingness to destroy everything rather than lose. Send the signal, he whispered, defeated. We surrender. But even as the Alliance fleet stood down, the humans knew this wasn't the end. They had one final lesson to teach about the true meaning of war. The peace conference took place on neutral ground, an abandoned space station orbiting Jupiter. Alliance leaders sat on one side of the table, their once proud postures now bent with defeat. Across from them sat the human delegation, led by General Adams. No advanced technology was allowed in the room. The Alliance had learned their lesson about human paranoia. They wrote the surrender terms on paper, using simple ink pens. Your terms are unusual, Council Leader Green said, reading the document. You're not demanding our technology. You're not even asking for our territory." Adams nodded. "We don't want your toys. We want you to understand something." He placed an old history book on the table. "This book covers just one of Earth's world wars. We have thousands more like it. Each one taught us something about warfare." The Alliance representatives shifted uncomfortably. In 8 months of war, they had lost 40% of their territory, not to superior weapons, but to humans using centuries-old military tactics. Commander Gray, now stripped of his rank, spoke up. "You could have defeated us completely. Why offer peace now?" "Because total victory isn't always the smart move," Adams replied. "We learned that lesson centuries ago. Sometimes, letting your enemy survive to spread the word is more valuable than destroying them." In the following weeks, the galaxy changed. The Alliance's military pride was shattered. Their official histories now included a new chapter: the Terran War, when advanced technology met ancient warfare. Captain Baker's Ghost Fleet emerged from hiding, revealing just how many ships humans had scattered through Alliance space. The aliens were shocked to find primitive vessels had been hiding near every major world, ready to strike if the peace talks failed. "We never really saw them coming," an Alliance officer wrote in his memoirs. "We looked for energy signatures, shield harmonics, antimatter drives. They attacked us with steam engines and gunpowder. How do you fight an enemy who turns your own arrogance against you?" The human terms were simple but firm. A buffer zone would be established between human and Alliance space. Any Alliance military vessel entering this zone would be considered an act of war. No exceptions. "But how will we monitor the zone?" an Alliance diplomat asked. "Our sensors can't detect your ships." "That's the point," Adams replied. "You'll never know if we're there or not. Just assume we're watching. Always." The psychological impact was exactly what humanity intended. The Alliance's mighty empire, built on technological superiority, now jumped at shadows. Every piece of space debris might be a human weapon. Every silent spot in space might hide a ghost ship. In the Earth War Room, now being decommissioned, General Adams received the final reports. The Alliance was withdrawing from the buffer zone. Their civilian populations were demanding reforms, refusing to trust leaders who had so badly underestimated humanity. "They wanted to teach us about modern warfare," Adams told his staff. "Instead, we taught them why Earth species became apex predators. We don't need fancy weapons. We just need the will to use whatever weapons we have." The Alliance's official archives added a final warning to their records: "Beware the humans. They are not bound by technological progress. They will use anything as a weapon, from the most primitive to the most advanced. But most dangerous of all is their understanding of war itself. They do not fight like a civilization that has known peace. They fight like a species that has survived countless wars." As the human ships returned home, a message spread through the galaxy. It wasn't sent by advanced communications or faster-than-light signals. It was carved into the hulls of abandoned Alliance warships, written in simple letters. "We did not want this war. But if forced to fight, we will use every weapon, every tactic, every brutal lesson our species has learned. Remember this: humans do not wage war to use weapons. We use weapons to wage war. The difference is everything." The galaxy had learned its lesson. The humans returned to their solar system, leaving behind an empire humbled not by technology, but by the sheer weight of humanity's long, violent history. The war was over. The legend was just beginning.